Okay, we're going to reconvene into open session at 5:38. Report action taken in closed session. By a vote of 4-0, trustees voted to release probationary classified employee 2369 effective at the end of the workday on April 17th of 2024. Okay, we're going to go to the Pledge of Allegiance. Where are they from?
Am I right now? My name is Giovanna Corn. Thank you for inviting us to lead your meeting with the Pledge of Allegiance. We are students from Over School saying the Pledge of Allegiance helps form a connection to our country, the United States of America.
My name is Sawyer Flowers. When we say the Pledge of Allegiance, we honor the flag and everything it represents.
My name is Xander Williams. Oh, sorry. My name is Xander Williams. We say the Pledge of Allegiance to start our day at school, to begin official meetings and ceremonies, and we honor the flag at special events like ball games. We would like to lead you in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Hello.
Pledge.
I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States
of America
and to the republic for which it stands one nation under God,
one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So much.
And those students from Ophir, if they could come forward, I have some certificates for you.
You need help with the balloons.
Yep, that's you. And then if you'll shake hands with the rest of the board.
Congratulations.
Sawyer, how you doing, bud?
There you go.
See
Thank
again,
you.
my friend.
And you can just go down there.
Just go ahead and shake everybody's hands.
Thank you so much.
Giovanna, nice to see you.
Thank you so much. We will now go on to recognitions, if it's okay with the board. Go on to recognitions.
She's gonna skip a couple and come back to comments. So we'll go to recognition so that we can get this fine body of people on their way tonight.
Thank you. 100-year anniversary of the Orville Boy Scout Troop 29.
So
Yes.
Dr. Holtum, this is Troop 29 and Friends and also Cub Scout Pack from Oroville. Troop 29 has been operating in Oroville since April 1924. So this month marks their 100th anniversary. And we're here to recognize them. So if, Alan, do you want to come up? And introduce yourselves and
Yeah, my name's Alon Wiedenman. I'm the Scout Master and Cub Master for both the troop and the pack. And at the troop level, we try to teach leadership, servant leadership specifically. And to that end, they elect their own leader. And this is my son, Aiden Wiedenman. He's the senior patrol leader that they have elected to represent them.
Thank you.
So tonight, we're gonna do a special recognition. Is that correct, Mr. James?
that is correct. A very special recognition.
Okay, so we have 100 or so balloons out here. And the goal tonight is that we're gonna pop all of these balloons. So we're gonna ask all the Cub Scouts and Scouts to come forward, grab a pin. Now, one thing that we're gonna ask, don't pop the balloons yet, is that once you pop your balloon, you'll pick up the residual or the trash, okay? And just put it in your pocket and you can throw it away later. But everybody, once you grab a pin, then grab a balloon and find a spot. And we want you guys to all spread out.
Scooch over here, guys. Come on.
Okay, parents of our scouts, please come forward. It looks like we have a lot of balloons left. So please come forward. We'd like you to be part of this. Andrew, if you could hand a push pin to members of our board and get them a balloon as well. Any other children that are here that would like to participate, please come forward. We'd love to have.
Here for the pin. All right, don't drop the pin on the floor.
We've expected that. And we will ask our police chief.
Wasn't even a kid. Stand up, we'll get him later. We'll pick up after. Get in later. It's like.
And Cub Scouts and Boy Scouts, when you're done, we're gonna have you put the pins back on the table over here so we don't have pins all over the place. And like I said, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna count down from 100. I mean, sorry. And we're gonna count down from 3, 2, 1, and then after that, I'll say pop and we'll pop. Then if we have extra balloons, you can pick another one up and pop it until we're all done. But remember, pick up your trash afterwards and put your pins over here. Parents, are you ready with your cameras? Okay, ready, 3, 2, 1, pop.
Another.
Pretty cool. Trash and pins. That's cool. There you go. Trash and pins. I'll take the trash. Everybody. Pins.
Great job. Why are they
Trash. Oh, I'll take the trash.
There you go. I just picked up random things.
There you go.
Random ones.
Good job.
You didn't use it.
Yeah, you got another trash can?
Much. We appreciate it. Thank you.
I loved it. Okay, can you put those in there?
Oh, thank you.
Everybody, thank you.
You have to watch the video on that.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Hey, boys, let's all line up here. Single file this way and we'll get some pictures with everybody.
Older boys.
Back up against the walls, yeah. Wait, come on.
Just even lit up.
You can help. Get up here.
All right.
Come on. Wait,
Yeah, space. All right, on the count of 3, we're gonna say.
Yes. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. That was amazing, like Kim said. We're gonna go ahead and go to the comment section. Any comments and announcements by the board? Jessica?
I have no comments today.
Sandra Barnes?
I noticed, where did I notice? I noticed in the warrants that our band is going to NCBA. And so I just want to wish them the very best of luck.
Thank you. Bill LaGrone?
I have none at this time, thank you.
And myself, Lisa Torres, I have nothing to announce. Now we're gonna have comments, and announcements by administration.
Okay, I just have a few announcements. I was able to attend Oakdale Heights open house last week, and that was a great opportunity for me to see all the classrooms. Campus looked great, lots of smiling faces. I just want to take a moment to recognize our staff who are doing a tremendous job with this April, sometimes April, May, start to get really long days, but our staff is really doing a great job, and want to recognize Miss Matt and Miss Moreno. I won't go into detail on a situation helping a family, but they went above and beyond helping a family this week, and I just want to acknowledge them. And then also want to say that my oldest daughter had our second grandchild last
Aw,
week,
congratulations.
a daughter. So I'm very happy to announce that. That's all. Thank you.
Andrew? James?
Good evening, board. exciting to see all these scouts and young people here for the Pledge of Allegiance and the celebration. So thank you for entertaining that. I thought that was a lot of fun. And thank you for Kim for setting that up. The balloon popping idea, I did never think of, but Kim thought of that. And I thought that was a lot of fun. Last board meeting, we saw the tail end of the audit. This week, started working on the next audit. So just so you have a sense of the cycle, it's pretty much a year-round process, and we're working steadily at the business office, and everything's going pretty well.
Thank you. Troy Cox.
Curriculum and instruction board group. With the psychologist.
Thank you. Holly Gutierrez.
Good evening. The only announcement I have for the board comes from Jesse Wood, who would like the board to know that your state preschool at Sierra de Oral is up and running. We had students start this week, and we are continuously looking for more and seeking out more enrollment. So it's up and going, and it's working out great.
Thank you. That's amazing.
One of our employees who is a grandmother of one of the new students told me that he didn't want to leave.
They don't want to leave.
So
And I do want to backtrack real quick. I did have something to say. I did attend, Principal Zhang did invite me to attend he had an honor roll, assembly for the children at, studios, and there was a lot of kids that were on honor rolls and a lot of kids that I knew, and, you know, they have a lot of smart kids in that school. And I just love the way that is progressing. So I do just want to sit there and say I appreciate Principal Zhang for all that he's doing, and also involving himself in the community, as well as what the children are doing. They seem to be a lot more supportive, and they're doing a whole lot more. And I really appreciate that. Okay. Do we have any comments by the public? Okay, we're going to move on to presentations. Results of general obligation bond survey, bond measure survey conducted by ISM advisors.
All right, good evening.
Good evening.
Well, I was happy to be there. I wasn't sure when Spencer and Andrew told me there were going to be 100 balloons popping, whether I wanted to be here, but that was actually a lot of fun. I was last here making a presentation to the board in late January. And so thank you for allowing me to make this presentation tonight as well. So since then, we were engaged to conduct a survey of the voters in your community to see whether there is support for a potential new bond measure. Let me move forward. So we were out in the field from Wednesday, March 20th through Monday, March 25th. And 405 households were contacted, which resulted in an overall margin of error of 4.8%. So please keep that margin of error in mind as we go through this presentation. You may recall from prior surveys we've done in 2017 and 2019 that we start out with some general, what we call warm-up questions. The first question is, would you say that education in California is headed in the right direction or the wrong direction? Here, about 60% of the people we surveyed felt that the state was really headed in the wrong direction. And about only a quarter of the people felt that it was headed in the right direction. What we saw though is that when we kind of zoom in a little bit more on Orville City Elementary School District specifically, that sentiment gets a lot more positive, with only 14%, rating the district as poor. One of the other questions we ask on the bottom left pie chart is, our voter file has a lot of information about what party voters are registered with, what their age is, how often they vote, etc. But we don't really know whether a voter has any connections to the schools directly. So we specifically asked this question to see. And here, of the people who took the survey, about half don't have any relationship to the district currently or in the past. So I think that's important to also get their feedback as well, because school districts tend to be honed in on the schools community, but the people who are going to be voting for your bonds, if the district decides to move forward, will include everybody, all the voters in the community, not just the people who are connected to the schools. We continue on with some general questions. Here we are trying to assess whether there is a connection between good schools and property values. There's a very strong connection there. Also, we want to see whether the community recognizes that the state funding doesn't necessarily fund facility improvements. So, it's really up to the local voters to support facilities at their local public schools. And a pretty high agreement with that statement, 79%. Here we go in pretty quickly to ask the 75-word ballot question. What the person taking the survey does is read those words in the yellow square. It's a little bit of a mouthful, but legally, these are the things that are required. And we asked this question pretty right off the bat because we want to see many voters just read the 75-word ballot question, and then they make an assessment of whether they are a yes or a no. So we want kind of the initial reactions that high propensity voters will have to this question. And the results are fairly positive. 63% of the people surveyed said yes. And it's worthwhile to point out here that for Prop 39 bonds, you need that 55% threshold. I think the other thing I would point out is that margin of error. I'm going to round it up to 5 since it makes the math a little bit easier, but that's something to keep in mind at the back of your head. I also want to point out that, we have some data from past surveys, 2017 and 2019 and currently. And it's interesting because 2017, the survey results, the support levels were relatively low. We started out with 60%. 2019, I would say, was really positive. Support levels were 64%, and we're a little bit shy of that this time around, which makes sense given inflation and a lot of things going on. From a political perspective and an economic perspective. So here we turn to asking about specific projects, and these are sorted in the order of support levels. And so what we're looking at is the red bars, where someone said, if the proceeds of these bonds were used to repair or replace leaky roofs and windows, they were much more likely, right, which is the red bars, and the yellow bars somewhat more likely to support these bonds. And what we see here is there's a lot of support for all of these projects. Repair and replace leaky roofs is almost consistently the #1 projects throughout the state. Voters really understand that, we don't want kids sitting in classrooms with leaky roofs. What is interesting is that #2, career technical education, we often don't see that ranking as high. So it's a little bit unique here in Orville. But going down from there, replacing outdated, HVAC systems, make healthy safety and security improvements, which is a pretty general statement, upgrading inadequate electrical systems, all garnering a pretty strong support. Continuing on, I will say that, all these projects still are getting 55% and above, but you can see that some of the support levels dip a little bit as we get further away from the classrooms and further away from what the general community may see as essential projects. From here, we shift gears again. Bonds are an additional tax to the community. So we want to see how sensitive if there's any tax rate sensitivity. For a Prop 39 bonds, most the tax rate projections is up to $30 per $100,000 in assessed value. So we ask how voters feel about $30 and then 25, and then 19. And as you can see, as the tax rates go down, the support levels go up. And I also looked at kind of past years, and there has always been some tax rate sensitivity in this community. So moving forward, we asked the 75-word ballot question again. And what we noticed here is that support levels dip a little bit from the initial 63% to 61%. The reason that we asked this question again is because the course of this survey may mimic what a campaign may look like, where the campaign for the bond, the yes campaign, may be out in the community talking about all the great projects that could be done with the bond proceeds, and then the opponents, highlighting the cost. And so after a voter gets information about the projects and about the cost, how do they react? And we see that they are a little bit tax rate sensitive, which is what we saw in 2017. It's interesting because in 2019, it was the reverse. Support levels actually popped up from there. One of the unique elements about the bonds that the district is testing right now is that this could be structured as a tax rate extension, since the bonds from the 2002 authorization are rolling off. And so we wanted to test this idea that, how would support levels change if voters were told that the proposed school improvement measure would just be an extension of the existing taxes. The labeling on this isn't great, but the yellow section, chartreuse section there, are the people who voted, who said yes, they support the bond. And if this was an extension of tax, they still support the bond. The gray section are the people who said, no, I don't support this bond. And this new information didn't sway their information. The reds are the people who either voted yes or no initially, but upon hearing this, they're even more likely or have switched their vote to yes. And then the green sector are the people who are no's. So same thing, very similar question on the right-hand side. Instead of just saying that we're extending the expiring bond, we specifically mentioned that it's a $21 tax rate. And again, very similar results. The argument is a positive influence on the overall support levels for the bond. And I think one of the things I should have highlighted when I showed you that language, the 75-word ballot question in the yellow box, was that, what we were testing in that 75-word ballot question was the tax rate at $21 and how much that could raise. So conclusions and recommendations. So it's great. The initial support for the measure was 63%. After education, support for the measure was still very strong at 61%. A lot of the projects garnered over 60% support, and voters, there was some tax rate sensitivity, but overall we saw that many, based on the survey, we were seeing support levels above 55%. I will say, going back to 2019, that was a very kind of, very positive survey. I think this one is a, green light, but a little bit, we want to be a little bit cautious. Our recommendation is to stick with the messaging of a tax rate increase around $21. That's what, based on the tax rate sensitivity that we saw in the survey, that's likely going to be the option that would more likely result in a positive outcome for the district, particularly in light of that margin of error. So I'll pause there. See if there are any questions. Oh, yeah. Sure, that's the same pie chart as the initial when we, in comparison, so, exactly. Sorry about that.
Any more questions?
Makiko, could you talk or explain to the board that the possibility if we go out and get this bond and, millions of dollars, matching funds that might be available to us through the state through this process?
Yeah, I have to confess that that's not my expertise. But historically, in order to access state bond money, you needed to show that you had local matching funds, which is essentially local bonds. And so in order to access that state bond money, just being able to, if you have, I think there's some concern sometimes that your local bond measure will be up against the state bond measure. But I often don't see it that way. I think, you'd be able to explain that the only way to access that state bond money is by having your own local bond money. And I don't know if Spencer and Andrew, if you were able to talk to some of the consultants who had an estimate of how much the district might be eligible for.
We haven't yet.
Okay.
It just depends on our eligibility.
Yeah.
But we would be going through that process. It would be a significant amount of money. Even if it was, 50% of 18 million is still a lot of money. So that's a process we'll be going through.
Okay. And it should probably talk about that. Yeah. But thank you. That was a great point. All right. Thank you.
Thank you. Now we're going to go to public hearings. Public hearings, general waiver request for modification of extended school year ESY services for 2024 to 2025.
So this is just a public hearing. And the Oroville City Elementary School District will be requesting a general waiver from the California Department of Education to modify the extended school year program from 20 days, 4-hour per day instructional program to 13-day. And that will be 6 hours and 15 minutes per day. And so what we have to do is extended school years for our special education students. And what we're going to be asking the state is, instead of doing 20 days of that and doing 4 hours a day, we'd like to do 13 days at more of a regular school day.
Okay. Does the board have any questions? Okay, this is not an action item, so we're going to go ahead and go to developer fee justification study.
So the developer fees that we collect have had a legislative increase, but in order for our district to take advantage of the increase from $4.79 to $5.17 per square foot for residential, and then from 78 cents to 84 cents per square foot for commercial industrial fees, the board has to take a series of actions that you're going to see throughout this agenda. This is something that you've seen before. It's just in order to adjust the rate to match what is now allowable, I have to go through a public hearing and have a couple of things that you'll approve later on. Are there questions about developer fees or? Okay.
Any questions by the board? Okay. So we're going to go to action session, public comments on action items. The board will extend an invitation to interested parties who wish to speak on items that are listed on the agenda. For those attending remotely who wish to comment, use the raise your hand button to be called on to speak. The Brown Act does not allow the governing board to discuss or take action on any item that is not posted on the agenda. Comments will be limited to 3 minutes per person and 20 minutes per subject. Is there anybody raise their hand button?
No, there's no public comment from my side.
Okay, on the consent agenda. Does anybody have any questions? Okay, this is an action item. Can I please have a motion on the consent agenda? Approval of the consent agenda.
I make a motion, we approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second? Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any noes? Any abstained? 4-0. Okay. Approve general waiver request for extended school year ESY for 2024 and 2025. So this is an action item for new business. Number 11.
So we'd like to ask the board to approve extended school year to go from the 20 days and down to the 13 days as and we just need board approval for that so that we can ask the state to do that.
Does the board have any questions?
How do the kiddos fare with the adjustment?
It really is no different for them because all these students are going the full day right now. So it
Okay.
just shortens how many days they have to go to summer school in the summer.
Any more questions? Can I get a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any noes? Any abstained? Okay, 4-0. Approve 2024 Comprehensive Safety Plan.
Okay. So it is recommended that the board approve the 24-25 comprehensive safety plan, be approved as presented. I've updated the comprehensive safety plan from last year. I have added the state mandated pieces that are required by law. One of those sections have to do with fentanyl and the increased use of fentanyl in our communities. And so that's been added to our safety plan, including the fact that our schools have Narcan in our schools and our health offices and things of that nature. That was the biggest update. And I just updated a lot of other smaller pieces, but that was the biggest change.
Anybody have any questions?
So Spencer, I do have a couple of questions. I noticed that the pandemic illness plan, I feel like that we should probably rename it to something like disease outbreak response and include foodborne illnesses or bacterial outbreaks and other viral outbreaks. God forbid.
So noted.
Um,
Thank you.
Yeah, so, pandemic, yeah, COVID's important, but there are other issues. I mean, we are a major provider of food here in Butte County in Oroville, so that's definitely going to be an issue. The other one, I noticed that there was no preparation in the process of an evacuation where it stipulates that parents come and pick up their students from the schools. So a bit of a history lesson. When we first started our comprehensive safety plan, it was back when Bird Street was still open and evacuation was a bit more of a tenuous situation. Since then, all of our schools are above, I believe it's 225 elevation above sea level. And so flooding, as far as the dam is concerned, is not as big of an issue. However, I did know that there is no preparation for students whose parents don't get picked up. And so perhaps we should include a procedure for their removal via bus or other transportation to a Red Cross site, which, if I'm not mistaken, is still LP High School, Las Plumas High School.
So noted. And I didn't catch that detail, but at the same time, that I don't want to say that's common sense, but
Right. So basically what it says is that any student who needs to be evacuated from the school, their parents come and get them.
mhm,
Well, what if their parents
can't get to them.
can't get to them? Who's gonna take care of them then? Well, when we have to move them to a Red Cross evacuation site, which here in Oroville is at Las Plumas High School. So there should probably be some notation for parents at least to see that, yes, we do have contingencies if they're not able to get to them. I think the campfire was another prime example of parents who couldn't get to their kids in a due timely fashion. And who's, the schools from Paradise had to move those kids down the hill.
Right. And I don't know if the word common sense was the right word, but we have the,
Judging.
we have what's called local parentis. And so when the parents can't pick up those kids, we assume that responsibility. And most definitely in the case of emergency, we would ensure that they get to, Las Plumas
Right.
High School or reunited with, proper people.
As many of the teachers in the campfire did to their own students in their own cars. The other one that I noticed was, when bullying and reporting procedures, I was concerned over the fact that the teachers are being primarily responsible for mitigating that. Would it be easier if they reported it also to Stop It website? That way, at least there would be some kind of quantitative analysis, some kind of actual physical reporting, and whether or not that's going to cause, whether or not that causes them an extra burden of labor. Better term.
Mhm.
Honestly, how much time do they have in their day to sit down and stop what they're doing and have a one-on-one with a student or two students? So that was a concern. How they were gonna find the time on top of everything else. Maybe we can mitigate that.
Thank you. And I would say that when it comes to like that bullying, I'm talking more of the low level. I see like Miss Cooper here.
Tit for tat.
When kids come in and, they're having, arguments and things,
Mhm.
you do that low level stuff, but the higher level stuff is, does get handled by administrators, by counselors, things of that nature.
That's all I have. Thank you.
Okay, any more questions? Okay, can I get a motion to approve the 2024-25 comprehensive safety plan?
How do we go about this with the changes?
I make a motion, we approve it as presented.
Can I get a second?
Spencer, do we have to have this on a deadline, or can we move this?
Yes, but what I can do is, I'll recommend that we approve it tonight, and then I can always bring it back with, I made
Changes?
notes with some changes.
Okay, so moved, second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any noes? Any abstained? 4 yes votes. Approved memorandum of understanding with United States University.
So it's recommended that this MOU with United States University College of Education in San Diego be approved as presented. Our band teacher is enrolled here at this school, and so this will be part of his process to be fully credentialed.
Do we have any questions?
We just have to have an agreement with the school, as we'll be working with them through this credentialing process.
It's San Diego, I think.
Any questions by the board?
No, we're just passing notes in class, ma'am.
Okay. I'll see you after class. Can I get a motion to approve the memorandum of understanding with the United States University?
So moved.
Can I get a second?
A second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any noes? Any abstain? 4 yes votes. Approve the 2024 inclusive state, 2023-24 inclusive state preschool CSPP parent handbook.
Holly, did you want to handle this one?
Sure. This is based off of Jesse Wood. And it came as we needed to add some different things to that parent handbook. It needed program philosophy, goals and objectives. needed to be approved by the board. So that's this difference in this handbook from the last one that you approved, is those additions that the state has asked for.
Any questions by the board? Can I get a motion to approve the 2023-24 Inclusive State Preschool CSPP Parent Handbook?
So moved.
Can I get a second?
A second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any noes? Any abstain? 4 yes votes. Waive first reading and adopt board policies, approve administrative regulations.
So in a continued process to update and improve our board policy and to be in compliance with the state, we are bringing forward 4 revised or updated board policies regarding intra-district enrollment, education for English learners, and home and hospital instruction. So this is just a first reading. Excuse me. This is an action item that we revise these policies. Troy, do you have anything?
Sure. The situation with the intra-district is basically what happens when we have students trying to move to another school and displacing, just updating language that's been updated by CASBO. The English learners portion, currently our district does not have a policy for our special education English learners to reclassify. So what we're doing is updating that policy to ensure that we have an avenue for our English learners with IEPs to be able to reclassify non-English learners. And then the home hospital is the updated language that dealt with it kind of went hand in hand with AB 130 when independent study came out. And it requires us to be able to make the program changes within 5 days. So if somebody requests home hospital, we have 5 days to find a teacher and get that program into place. Thank you.
Any questions by the board? Can I get a motion to waive the first reading and adopt board policies, approve administrative regulations?
So moved.
Can I get a second?
A second.
All those in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstained? 4 yes votes. Okay, review quarterly report of district compliance with Education Code, Section 35186, Uniform Complaint Procedures.
Do we have any?
There are none.
Okay, this is not an action item, so we're going to continue on to business and finance. Accept developer fee justification study.
We had a public hearing earlier, and this item and the next item are to adopt the state standard level so we can increase our rates.
Okay. Can I give a motion to accept the developer fee justification study?
So moved.
Can I get a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstain? 4 yes votes. Adopt resolution 23-2409, resolution increasing school facility fees as authorized by Government Code Section 65995B3.
So the first action was to accept the study. This is to adopt the resolution to actually increase the rates.
Any questions by the board? Can I get a motion?
So moved.
Can I get a second?
A second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstain? 4 yes votes. Adopt resolution authorizing continued funding application.
So the continued funding application is so now that we're operating a state preschool, we can get paid to do so.
Any questions by the board? Can I get a motion to adopt the resolution authorizing continued funding application?
So moved.
Can Can I get a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstain? 4 yes votes. Approve memorandum of understanding with the Orville Elementary Teachers Association, summer school 2024.
So this was a negotiated item, and one of the issues that we have in the district is in June and July of each summer, as part of the extended school year, we have to provide 15 days of summer school in both of those months. Because we end school the first week of June, that next following Monday, to get all 15 days in June, we have to go to school on Juneteenth, which is a holiday. So we had to negotiate with OETA to give them holiday pay so that we could be in compliance with the state. That's the biggest crux of that.
Any questions by the board? Okay. Can I get a motion?
So moved.
And a second?
A second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstain? Pass with 4-0. Ratify tentative agreement with the Orville Elementary Teachers Association fringe benefits for 2023-2024.
If you recall, when we settled salary negotiations and benefit negotiations this year, we had some changes to the retiree health benefit language. As we've begun to roll that out, we noticed a loophole where maybe an employee could have a lot of experience, come to Orville Elementary School District and not pass probation. And maybe even if the teacher was non-reelected, they could resign or retire in lieu of being non-reelected and then collect retiree health benefits until they're 65, from 55 to 65. So this is a Band-Aid to fix the hole so that's not there. So it requires that people work for us for 3 years before they're eligible. And we did meet with OETA and negotiated this item, and this was our joint agreement.
Any questions by the board? Can I get a motion?
So moved.
And a second?
Second.
Those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstain? 4 yes votes. Accept bids for district-wide roofing projects.
So we have some district-wide roofing projects that we're planning on doing this summer, as we do most summers. And we have selected the 4 sites that have the biggest need for some roofing improvements. And we have brought that to you today. And we had 2 bids that were accepted or that made it into the process. We had American Foam Experts out of Galt and George Roofing of Orville. And George Roofing of Orville is the one who came in lowest.
Any questions by the board?
What is alternate 1 and 2?
We had some alternate projects that are some additional pieces like on the band room and the breezeway, I believe, at East Side, that if we elect to, we can use that same contractor to do this work if we decide to, but it's not part of the bid and it wasn't part of the pricing that was used to evaluate.
So if they were to do the other projects, it would be more.
Or if we had if we said, oh, well, we have additional money to go out and we really feel like we need to have these projects done, we can include those as sort of add-ons to this process.
Any questions by the board? Can I get a motion to accept the bids for district-wide roofing projects?
I make a motion, we accept the bids as presented.
And a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstain? 4 yes votes. Award contract for district-wide roofing projects.
We recommend that the board award the contract to George Roofing as they were the low bidder.
What was the bid again? I'm sorry, I forgot it.
What there's 4 bids. So for the East Side Breezeway and restroom, American Foam was at 116,000 approximately, and George was at 75,000. They were comparable, but George beat them on all 4 of the projects by 5 to 10%.
I make a motion, we approve the contract with George's Roofing.
Thank you, Bill. Can I get a second?
Second.
Those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstained? 4 yes votes. Personnel, consider request for unpaid leave of absence.
It is recommended that a request for an unpaid leave of absence be considered for certificated employee 2388, effective for the 24-25 school year. The employee is aware that no district health and medical contribution will be made during this time. However, the employee can elect to personally cover the premiums during this time.
Any questions by the board? Can I get a motion to consider request for unpaid leave of absence?
So moved.
Can I get a second?
A second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstain? 4 yes votes. The meeting is adjourned at 6:34.
Thank you, everyone.
It's a little gamey, but you know. Imagine mass chaos in the event of an emergency like that. You know, parents trying to funnel into the schools to get their kids and teachers having to be responsible for them all. Walking.
My day off, yeah.
Good night.
I know. No, I almost, it must be really hard for the teachers, you know, they have to keep track of their. Now. Keep accountable and hold. You know, and I'm talking like, if we have time, that's great, get parents in the community. If you don't have time, stay.
Yeah.
It's on fire and then, like, you don't have time.
You don't have time.
At school with your teacher and safely get him somewhere. Or they.
But how many parents